Well, parts of central South America are experiencing the worst wildfires the region has seen since 2010. Huge areas of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil are on fire, and fires sweeping across rural parts of Bolivia are causing dangerous air pollution. Several neighboring countries are sending firefighting teams to help. Bolivia has also deployed its military.
Villagers and firefighters work side by side to battle wildfires that are sweeping across swathes of farmland in Santa Cruz, central Bolivia. Recent extreme drought has provided ideal conditions for the fires to spread in several regions, leading to the deployment of soldiers to the worst affected areas. Indigenous groups are blaming the popularity of so-called slash-and-burn farming measures.
Ranchers cut down huge areas of hillside forests, which they then burn so that they can expand their pastures for grazing. This is the reason wildfires are reaching our communities. The Tumichuca community was affected by a fire from a private property. Our community was also badly affected by a different fire.
Their concerns are being echoed by thousands of protesters in the capital city, La Paz. The demonstrators are calling for an end to what they say are destructive farming laws.
Please realize what is really happening in our country. We have lost millions of hectares, millions of animals have been burned to death, and it's not fair. We want to repeal the laws that are to blame for the fires in Bolivia. That is why we're protesting, to fight against this government and also the previous one. They all approved these laws, which are doing us in Bolivia and Latin America a lot of harm.
The wildfires have engulfed more than 4 million hectares of land in Bolivia this year alone, nearly 4% of its entire land area.
Well, journalist Gabriel Díez Lacunza is standing by in Bolivia's capital, La Paz. Gabriel, it's good to have you with us. What are you hearing and seeing? Is the farming practice of slash and burn, is that part of the problem here?
Good evening. Yes, in fact, in 2019, Bolivia lost 5.3 million hectares of land during the fires, right? So according to Fundación Solon, there are at least 10 incendiary and decrease laws. It means that these laws allows the people to start fires, just to make their planting.
And what's the government doing about this? I mean, if the government limits the amount of land that they can set ablaze, isn't that being seen as an attack on people's ability to make a living?
In one of these laws, the amount is 20 hectares, but nowadays no one controls that. I mean, there is a lack of control of the government, there is a lack of transparency. The government is not doing what they should be doing. We are now at least 2 months since the fires had started. So just yesterday, the government announced an environmental pause, which means that no one can start a fire.
Well, why do you think
this?
Gabriel, why do you think that is? Why is the government so slow to react to a situation that is obviously dire?
There are some explanations. Since 2013, the government of Evo Morales had reached this kind of agreement with the agro system of the east of Bolivia, and that's because they had to produce more, you know. So these incendiary laws on decrease were approved in the period of 2013 to 2019. So the government has interest in this.
Okay, journalist Gabriel Díez Lacunza joining us from La Paz. Gabriel, we appreciate your reporting on this. Thank you.
Well, for more, let's bring in environmental economist Stasiek Cabezas from La Paz. Great to have you with us. 4% of Bolivia's landmass has already gone up in flames this year, according to our report. Are things as bad as our report makes out?
They're even worse. I'm afraid that the current, report that we have of 4 million hectares doesn't really bring out the reality that's happening, because the 4 million hectares reported are from 3 weeks ago. We really don't know what has been happening since then. And we can know, nevertheless, by the amount of fire that we can see that has been reported by individual communities, that we are on a track of a record year in terms of ecological disaster.
Stasiek, so our report also begs the question, why can't the government stop what is happening? Or should the question rather be, why won't they stop what is happening?
So that's, I think that there's the real, devil in the details, that does the government really want to stop the forest fires? I mean, for the past years, those forest fires have been recurrent. And year after year, the government has pushed for more favorable measures, more favorable programs for the agribusiness and cattle ranching expansion. And this year, we are entering into a major financial crisis in Bolivia. And with that in mind, the government has been pushing for even more favorable conditions for the expansion of the agribusiness. Just to give you two examples, in terms of prevention of forest fires, the government public institution, which is the one that has to undertake those activities, has a budget of $200,000 for the whole year in terms of prevention of forest fires. The whole budget of that institution is of 7 million hectares. And the fines right now for those fires, which are most of them illegal, can get up to $2 per hectare. So everything has been put in motion not to stop or have any incidents in terms of trying to slow down those forest fires. With that in mind, at the same time, the government has pushed for a public fund of $300 million at 0.5% interest rate for soy producers and oil palm producers. So you can see
there's the conflict laid bare for you. There's money on the line. Protesters are on the streets, but the government relies on agribusiness to keep the money coming in and the lights on. Is there enough people on the streets to get the government, to change course and to stop farmers slashing and burning land?
Not at all. I'm afraid there won't be enough, and not just because of that, but because it is not just about the current government. It is about all the parties in the legislative power. None of them want to take any strong measure against all these forest fires, and at the same time, it is clear that it is too late. Even if the government would want to take the proper measures in the coming weeks, we are already at the month of September, the worst month in terms of forest fires, and October, which is the second worst month, is coming. And all this is not just about announcing and taking measures right now. It is about the whole process of public policy that has to be consistent, and which is not right now.
Well, you've laid it out really clearly for us. We thank you. Stasiek Cabezas, thanks for joining us on DW.